The philosopher Heidegger has this phrase where he says I think he says we are thrown into the world, or cast into the world, I've heard it translated. Cast into the world. And I've always really liked that since I came across it a few years ago. Because that does capture, for me at least, a bit what it's like to just kind of wake up and realise that the world's already in motion when you come into it, you know. It's like the line in the David Byrne song, you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You know, you think, how do I work this? That's kind of what it feels like, I think. We think, you know, the world's already up and running when you come into it. Even though you feel like you're at the centre of your own world, and the world's in you in some weird way, as well as you being in it. At the same time, it precedes your arrival, you know. That the words that you speak were spoken by other people thousands of years, and you just find yourself speaking them. And the moves you make with your hands, and the things that you wear on your body, and the things that you do, you've kind of, oh, I'm doing this. And then you realise that people have been doing it for hundreds or thousands of years, and you don't remember learning it, and it just, oh gosh, I've come to consciousness in this body, doing these things. Finding yourself behind the wheel of a flesh robot. And it's a bit weird, really. And I don't know, it's very odd, that. It's kind of taking control of that is, I guess, one of the responsibilities and liabilities or duties or curses that we have, isn't it? Or it feels like that to me. So I'm just trying to think into that, really, what the implications are of that, and what, you know, where it comes from. Because it seems to me, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems to me that we come to full consciousness. I don't mean sentience. Sentience we have from the day before we're born, you know, the capacity to feel and the capacity to feel pain. Apparently we can feel in the last trimester before birth, certainly, and after birth, of course. We are sentient creatures. But coming to consciousness is different, isn't it? You know, that happens between the ages, well, it happens in a gradual process, but broadly speaking, kind of between the ages of 18 months and 3, something like that, we come to fully aware self-consciousness. Consciousness not only that we are pain, we are pleasure, we are the things we see, we are the centre of experience, but that we kind of know we are. That we're not just sentient, we're kind of consentient. We have this withness character to our being. That we're here and we know we're here. We're constantly remembering the present. Is that William James? Probably. No. Somebody else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So that consentience, that consciousness comes online gradually, or evolves, or emerges out, or is built out of the machine code of sentience. You know, that's the kind of software program, I think at least, that kind of runs on top of this machine code that sentient feeling has built, and that underpins all that stuff. So when we start to come online, that's the kind of moment, I think, when we're age 2, 3 maybe, when we start to recognise ourselves in mirrors and start to feel a little bit of a gap between who we are and what our feelings are. A little bit of a gap opens up, doesn't it? A Canian gap, or a Nemo, whatever it's called. We preceded our own arrival in a way. Our bodies preceded our own arrival. Our capacity to feel, our sentience was here before we, the conscious entity that calls itself I, was here. But we can kind of remember that, I think. We can kind of remember that sentience, you know. And we have this ongoing feeling that, as I say, not just that we're awake, because I am awake now, but in a sense that I was already awake when I came to consciousness. It's like, oh, I'm awake now, but I was already awake. You know, it's like sometimes when you wake up from a dream, and then you realise that actually, no, I've been awake for a while, actually. I'm just now realising I've been awake. I'm just now realising that the room I'm looking at, which I thought was a dream room, is actually the real room. And I was always already awake. And I think that's the kind of what's happening with consentience kicking in. And I think I do mean always, actually. I think I do mean always already awake. I think we have a kind of folk memory, maybe even a biological memory, a neurological memory of always being awake, not just of the 18 months or 2 years or 2.5 years before our consciousness came online. Because when we're sentient, prior to consentience kicking in, that sentience is different, isn't it, to sentience, to consciousness? Because sentience doesn't do the time binding thing that consciousness does. Consciousness is time binding, we know that, don't we? I think we know that. I don't know who said time binding, I don't know where that phrase comes from. Can't remember. Hegel, some philosopher. But time binding only comes online when you can symbolise and represent, you know, whether it be words or cave paintings or scratches in the sand or grunts or squeaks that have representational qualities to them, so that I can not only represent this tree in my mind live now in front of me, but I've also got memories of other trees that I've seen, images of them, words about them, poems written by other people about them, photographs I've seen of them, and metaphorical symbols of these things going on in my mind. And all that symbol manipulation is bound and kind of stretches across time. You know, I can remember the past that I wasn't in, and I mean remember it not by being there, but remembering it by putting the members together. And the other members of this particular alchemical wedding go back to, you know, the first people who wrote about trees, and also anticipate the future. You know, I can project into the future because I'm a time-binding consciousness. I can project these symbols into the future and make predictions about what will happen, which sentience alone doesn't do. You have to be consentient to do that, and that's really different. So I think that, you know, that capacity to bind time and to have the access to and to be partly composed by a great big slice of time, or the symbols that exist across it, and to use those things in terms of metaphor and allegory and prediction and all those kind of things that we do, separates us from sentience and is fundamentally different in character. Sentience has no time binding. If you're just a feeling organism, or if you're just a baby, you have no sense of time. You're always in the perpetual present, because that's what sentience is. You feel a pain now, and if you're in extreme pain or extreme pleasure, probably those things return, don't they? Time slips away, and you enter the moment of that happening, and then that moment is also eternity, because because time disappears. There's no time binding which connects it to the past and the future and gives a direction to that travel. It's that moment, and that moment is always already happening forever. I guess one of the reasons why people seek extremes of pleasure and extremes of pain, and particularly the combinations of those things that float some people's boat, is because not only because it's gratifying in the obvious ways, but in some ways it does kind of connect us to eternity. It does return us to sentience, strip away our consentience, the withness disappears, and we've just got the sentience dropped into the eternal moment or something like that. Sorry to sound metaphysical, but I think it's just real. So I think haunting us, at least in some ways, when we do come online, when we do find ourselves behind the wheel of a large automobile, when we do realise we've been cast into the world or thrown into the world at around 3, we have got this little memory going on of the time which, when looked at from the outside, is that year or 18 months of just sentience prior to the development of consciousness. But from the inside is a memory of eternity, really, that we were always already awake. Beautiful down here.